And I've given him 4 sons plus 2 slave sons, and yet I'm still the loser. He still doesn't love me, and now you want my mandrakes? Go F yourself. Welcome to Joel Reads Bible. I'm Joel. I'm someone who reads the Bible, and I've been reading the whole thing from the beginning to the end. I'm only up to Genesis chapter 30. It's a long haul. There's a lot of Bible to read. So far, a few of the tribes of Israel, patriarchs, have been born to an ugly woman and her husband Jacob. And we're going to see if his more attractive wife, Rachel, who is currently barren, might not be so barren after all. Women in the Bible who are barren, it turns out they don't stay barren. That's just a trick that God loves to pull because he wants to intervene with women's reproductive organs. And it might be that that's just what God's into. It also might be that that's just how creative people were in making up stories in those days. So here we are in Genesis chapter 30. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, am I bearing him? I'm not bearing him any children. She became jealous of her sister. So she said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die. Give me children or I'll die." People are very dramatic in this book. This isn't the first time we've had a dramatic outburst, but there's not enough of them, I'll be honest with you. When God flooded the whole world, there was not a lot of passion in that moment. It was just like flood, and Noah's like, okay. Instead of going, I will bring my family to the ark. You wish that there was a little bit more drama there. But anyway, the value of a woman is how many children she can produce. Never forget that. Or if she waters all the camels is when you ask her for a drink. Jacob became angry with her and said, "Am I in the place of God who has kept you from having children? God is in charge." As much as he maybe doesn't interfere with free will, allegedly, we don't have any of that theology at this point, so there's no reason to think that he doesn't constantly interfere with free will. He set up the whole entire game. He made Eve a certain way to do a certain thing, and I dare say, and I know that this is a weird place to put it in chapter 30, but I don't know if Eve even had free will in that moment because God made her gullible. Leave your comments about free will, but we'll probably get into free will a little later. But in this case, he's like, I'm not God. I can't make you barren or not barren. That's what he does. And if he wants to interfere here, he will. Then she said, "Here is Bilhah, my maidservant." Talk about repeating the story. "Sleep with her so that she can bear children for me, and through her, I too can build a family." So these stories of Abraham and Isaac and now Jacob are passed down through word of mouth and definitely passed down within this family. But the idea that Jacob might not be like, bad idea. My grandma had the same idea, and that's why Ishmael is completely screwed. So no, I don't want to have a baby with one of your slaves, because if I do, that kid's going to be completely screwed as well. I think that should be the answer here. So let's see what happens. So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife. Jacob slept with her. Jacob! And she became pregnant and bore him a son. Jacob. Rachel isn't aware of this story, although she should be because her family is directly related to Abraham. You think that she's not going to be aware of Ishmael and all that nonsense that happened? She's not going to be aware of this stuff? Of course she is. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son." Because of this, she named him Dan. He gave Bilhah a son, but Bilhah, I guess, is her property. So God hasn't been involved here. It's just them just chatting away and coming up with their own little plans. Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again. Oh, Jacob was into her. And bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, I have had a great struggle with my sister, and I have won. Well, she has more sons. So she named him Naphtali. Sounds Italian. Hey, Naphtali. I'm a Naphtali. But her sister, by the way, does have Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. She's got 4. So these are just 2 slave bastards. Have you really won, Rachel? I mean, you do still have the husband who loves you. Leah doesn't have that. She's stuck in a loveless marriage. And her husband now is banging your slave. Leah's lost the whole time. Leah lost day 1. Laban made sure of that. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took her maidservant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, what good fortune! So she named him Gad. I mean, we're getting a lot of boys here. It's all boys. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, how happy I am! The women will call me happy. So she named him Asher. During wheat harvest, Reuben went out into the field and found some mandrake plants, which he brought to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's mandrakes. But she said to her, wasn't it enough that you took away my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too? I mean, it's a little bit petty at this point. But I can see where the attitude is, you know what I mean? You already took my husband. No, I'm keeping my mandrakes. How much do you get, beautiful Rachel? The man doesn't even love me. And I've given him 4 sons plus 2 slave sons. You've only given him 2 slave sons. And yet I'm still the loser. He still doesn't love me. And now you want my mandrakes? Go F yourself. Very well, Rachel said. He can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes. I thought, as I said previously, all the women were just doing their duties in bed. You know, they were just like putting up with it, and it might as well all be non-consensual sexual assaults. But it turns out that no, for Leah and Rachel, there's actually a lot of validation in getting to have sex with your husband. So you can actually barter with that. This is great to know. And it makes me kind of wish I was Jacob in a sense, that I was that desired and that, you know, they were kind of bickering over me a little bit. I'll tell you what, I'll let you bang Jacob if I get some of these mandrakes. And she's like, I get to spend a night with my husband? You'll step aside? As long as he's not banging a slave, this could go well for me. So when Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him. You must sleep with me, she said. I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. I have hired you. I have paid for you. I love this. This is feminism. This is feminism in the Bible. You're my bitch tonight. So he slept with her that night. Jacob, these men, they seem like they're big, tough guys, but they're actually like, okay, if that's the rule, I guess it makes sense that, you know, if someone has mandrakes and my wife that I actually like wants them, then I guess I have to sleep with the ugly one. Okay, I'll sleep with you. And imagine that being a prize for Leah. She's like, yes, I was able to earn sleeping with my husband, who probably would prefer not to sleep with me. But the fact that he is sleeping with me is good enough for me. Doesn't that feel kind of shitty, Leah? He still doesn't love you. Like what's the value there? Sheer absolute pleasure. Jacob is a stallion in bed. This man knows his way around a woman's body. I think that's the fact of it. God listened to Leah, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a 5th son. Up yours, Rachel. Then Leah said, God has rewarded me for giving my maidservant to my husband. So she named him Issachar. That's a reward. Christians, women, Pay attention to this. In this Bible, God rewards women who give their husbands other women. He rewards polyamory. He rewards when a woman gives her husband some slave women to have sex with. Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. Then Leah said, God has presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor because I have borne him 6 sons. So she named him Nebulun. Sometime later, she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. That's a one-sentence verse that we never need to know about Dinah. I don't even know why she's in there. Why bother mention the one girl as if we care that a girl was born? More men, more men, more men, more men. Leave a comment to celebrate the birth of Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and opened her womb. What? He loves opening wombs. But he listened to her finally, eh? She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, God has taken away my disgrace. It's so disgraceful for a woman not to have babies. It actually makes me think those women are like dirt on the ground, like a piece of crap underfoot, or something along those lines. I might be being a little bit dramatic, but it is a disgrace when you can't bear children. She named him Joseph and said, may the Lord add to me another son. After Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, I'm going to pronounce it a different way every time, send me on my way so I can go back to my own homeland. I didn't realize they were still in wherever they were. Give me my wives and children for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. You know how much work I've done for you. But Laban said to him, if I have found favor in your eyes, please stay. Okay, so he's asking politely. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. He added, name your wages, and I will pay them. Divination? I don't know that much about divination, but it is fine, I guess, and it does reveal truths. Jacob said to him, you know how I have worked for you and how your livestock has fared under my care. The little you had before I came has increased greatly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I have been. But now, when may I do something for my own household? What shall I give you? He asked. Don't give me anything, Jacob replied. But if you will do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all your flocks today and remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages, and my honesty will testify for me in the future whenever you check on the wages you have paid me. Any goat in my possession that is not speckled or spotted, or any lamb that is not dark-colored, will be considered stolen. Okay, this is a little interesting. Let's see what happens next. Agreed, said Laban. Let it be as you have said. That same day, he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled or spotted female goats, all that had white on them, and all the dark-colored lambs, and he placed them in the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend the rest of Laban's flocks. Okay, so it looks like Laban took all the sheep that Jacob had requested to hide them, essentially. I think Laban's shooting himself in the foot right now, and I'm really worried about him because I don't think he knows who he's dealing with. The thing is that through divination, he kind of does. Through divination, he should have a clue at this point. Jacob, however, took fresh-cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs, so that they would be directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they mated in front of the branches. And they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, but made the rest face the streaked and dark-colored animals that belonged to Laban. Thus he made separate flocks for himself and did not put them with Laban's animals. So maybe Laban isn't hiding the streaked and speckled animals. Maybe he just removed them to be like, okay, these are Jacob's. So let's not think Laban is a bad guy. But now Jacob seems to be doing something is meant to make these animals have children with spots and things. But I feel like Jacob might be doing something clever, but not particularly nice. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of the animals, so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban, and the strong ones to Jacob. In this way, the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks and maidservants and menservants and camels and donkeys. Just to recap here, Jacob was like, let me leave. Laban was like, no, can you stay? Name your price. Jacob's like, all right. Well, don't give me anything, but can I just have all the speckled animals? That will be my wage. What are you saying? You don't give you anything, but give you the speckled animals. So give you something. And then through the magic of branches in water, I don't know if I'm reading this right. Let me know in the comments if I missed something, but he used this, whatever this little plan was, to get the strongest of all the livestock to have spots or streaks. That's how he became super rich. Screwing over Laban, I don't want anything from you, but let me screw you out of some really great sheep. And then that's just the way it goes. This is just the moral fiber of this clan, you know? Abraham had issues. Isaac had issues. Jacob now, he's got some issues too. None of them are particularly morally upright. God did say that Abraham followed all the rules and all those things. But we don't know that from Isaac and Jacob. We don't know how God feels about them. I mean, they are his favorites, but we don't know if he thinks they behave well. They may be horrible. They may behave horribly. I mean, they do behave horribly, but I don't want them to be the villains. But it's crazy how much like villains they are. It blows my mind, actually. And I don't know how people read it and find inspiration or beauty or power or truth. Please leave that in the comments. Tell me how these stories inspire some sort of image of God in your minds that is beautiful and wholesome and loving, or any of those things that you might want to say, even good. Show me how God is good. So far, we haven't seen it. Thanks for joining me. Please subscribe. Please leave your comments. Please ring the bell. Please like the video. Please continue to watch. If you haven't watched the whole story, start from the beginning. Watch all these videos. I mean, there's a lot of them. I get it, but I've had to read them. So if I had to read them, then you should have to watch them. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.